Today marked day 6 of the nationwide protest against hunger and hardship. While protests were held in a few parts of the country, we can say that intensity varied from state to state. Recall that News Central's correspondent spoke with us from Ojota in Lagos State, where a group of individuals ensured that the protests did not hold in Ojota, and media personnel were not allowed at the convergence point either. Yesterday, News Central's crew were harassed by these anti-protest individuals in Ojota. Let's take a look.
In the past few minutes, or would I say, the past few minutes as a matter of fact, but I'll start from what happened this morning. Upon arriving Ojota this morning, unlike what we've been noticing in the past 5 days, where we get here and then we see security operatives on one side and we see the protesters on the other side chanting songs of solidarity. Upon arrival today, there were no protesters here, just security operatives, and not just security operatives, but in heightened numbers. So it was like they came out with reinforcement, basically. Vehicles upon vehicles of police officers, trucks of police officers, all armed in their complete, riot regalia, all behind. However, what happened was, rather than allowing us shoot from in front of the actual center of where the protest was going on, the police officers moved us away from that area, and we had to record from several kilometers away from that particular area. So, the police had to explain to us after we questioned them. They spoke to us after we explained to them that we should not be there. All right, at the moment, do roll on now. I went out. All right, so we're being harassed now. We have to go into the vehicle.
All right, Bernard, just take it easy.
So, obviously, we're being attacked by thugs, and we have to go in. Yeah.
That's fine. You can just get settled in. Bernard, please stay safe, get settled in, and we can come back to you for updates.
News Central's MD, Kayode Akintemi, alongside lead reporter Bernard Akede, visited the Lagos State Commissioner of Police following the attack on the News Central crew at Ojota. The CP, Adegoke Fayoade, assured that the perpetrators will be brought to book. Now, joining us this morning is the Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Hundeyin. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me on the show today.
All right. That was not a pleasant video to watch. All of us on this set cringed as we were watching that video. But I think the core question that a number of people asked is exactly what happened there. And there were reports of police officers being on ground whilst the attack happened. So why did they not intervene? What happened exactly?
Okay, so while I was watching the report, while you were talking before the report, you said that protesters were not allowed. Then subsequently, journalists too were asked to move away. I need to correct that. Protesters did not even show up, because I spoke with the leadership of Take It Back movement, and they informed us and informed me too that they would not be coming out yesterday. So it was understood that protesters were not coming out. Then talking about journalists, that the police asked journalists to move forward. If you are conversant with where they were doing their protest, they actually closed up a particular lane. So since there was no protest, there was no need for anybody to be there. Thankfully, you have zoom lenses, so you can just stay ahead and do your recording. That was the plan. It wasn't like anybody was trying to suppress the press. So what really happened yesterday, if you would agree with me that the entire debacle, if I could use that word, did not last more than like 5 seconds. And it's painful to watch that nobody beckoned to the police just a few meters away. They were around there. And before anybody, I was there, not when it happened, but I got there and I heard about what happened. So why didn't anybody reach out to the police? And I was told that, before the police was aware, they had entered their vehicle, they had gone. So it's sad that it happened, but it was also something that happened so quickly that before the police, even if the police had been informed, maybe before they got there, things would have, the press would have, the journalists would have left. But nonetheless, the good thing is they were all captured on video. These are people that are identifiable. The location, the spot is identifiable, and the Commissioner of Police has given his word that they will be identified, fished out, and prosecuted.
Is there a time frame that we're working with?
Well, investigation usually does not have a time frame, but work started immediately yesterday. The statement of Bernard was taken yesterday, and we're hoping that everything will be concluded within a week.
I'm sure you can also see a number of the comments on social media. There are people who have expressed displeasure, not just displeasure, but a lack of belief that any of these people will be apprehended, because there are people who think that they work hand in hand with the police.
I saw that.
So do you want to maybe speak to that and assure Nigerians that definitely these people will be brought to book?
Well, I don't want my words to convince people. I want our actions to convince people. So these people will definitely be apprehended and prosecuted.
All right, I want to ask about generally, concerning the end bad governance protest in Lagos. You could call it peaceful, in Lagos State, compared to, other parts of the country. But there's also certain things that you cannot miss, and that is the seeming high-handedness of the police in certain places. For example, the Lekki toll gate. There was barely any, crowd there, but we still got to see that tear gas canisters were fired. I think on day 2, I believe.
Day 1.
Day 1. Okay. So tell us about that. And what necessitates the use of tear gas, according to your training, and what these officers have been told.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just remembered something, so I would like to quickly talk about it before I move to Lekki toll gate. Bernard in his report said, there was a heightened deployment of police officers at Lekki. That's not true. We did not increase deployment of officers at Ojota, I mean. We did not increase deployment of officers. It's still the same number of officers. But it looked like there were more because there were no protesters. So there were no protesters to mix with the number. So it looked like there were more. So having said that, Lekki toll gate, day 1, protesters tried to converge on the Lekki toll plaza. And we made them know that there was a court order, a subsistent court order that said there should be no convergence there. And it took us over 30 minutes to convince them to leave. And yet they were adamant, and the number was swelling. And we've learned from history, we know what that could translate into. So we patiently told them to leave, and they would not leave. And we also told them what would come. Tear gas would come to disperse you. That's the least harmful thing we could do. We've used word of mouth. We've tried persuasion. It wasn't working. So tear gas would come. And after that warning, there was still a whole 5 minutes for you to decide to leave, walk out of that place. Hold on. And so they decided to stay. And one canister of tear gas did the job. They all left. And accolades came in, though privately people did not want to say that openly so that they would not be attacked. But people thanked us for making sure that there was sanity there and there was free flow of traffic. Yeah,
but first of all, it was more than one, canister of tear gas. I have seen those clips, from the New Central camera crew. Definitely more than one canister of tear gas that was used. And then second is, when you say that a crowd was gathering, that's why I'm trying to understand what is the training like? At what point does the police feel like they're overwhelmed and they need to then fire tear gas?
Okay, so let's not argue about number 1 tear gas, 2 tear gas, 3 tear gas, 4 tear gas. It doesn't matter. What matters is they were warned and they chose to stay. So it's not like anything was sprung on them. It was their decision to stay. And what was the training? We use force that is commensurate with the force we are facing. So to begin with, persuasion. That's very, very harmless. Persuasion. It doesn't work, then we move to tear gas. Now, at what point do we feel overwhelmed? We don't even want to be overwhelmed. We don't even want to get to that point.
But doesn't it, because what I would expect is that now you've mentioned persuasion. I wasn't there, but our reporters were there. But if you're talking about persuasion, you would expect that, you see numbers that, okay, there's no way that we can handle, these numbers. We can't deal with these numbers, and so we need to fire tear gas. Because, I understand that there's different levels of, resort that the police needs to take or action needs to take. But it seems like the Nigerian police moves from persuasion to tear gas. There's no other steps.
What would you rather? They are saying other steps. Name the other steps. What other step would you?
I believe that first of all, you need to justify the use of tear gas.
30 minutes, a whole 30 minutes.
No, but it's not a time frame.
It's a whole 30 minutes. And I'll let you know.
Okay. On what I'm saying.
Okay.
The justifying of the use of tear gas is not with regards to time frame.
Okay.
It is with the fact that, okay, this is a crowd that we can no longer control. We are now overwhelmed. The security and lives of other people are at risk. Before we then say tear gas, it's not.
That's the point. We don't want to wait till we are overwhelmed. Now, people were there doing live Instagram, showing other people at home that, we are here, nothing is happening, so other people can come. And we knew, we've been through this road before. We know what would happen. In a matter of 30 minutes, 1 hour, more people would arrive there, and we would not allow that. We would once bitten, twice shy. So they were given enough time to leave, and after the warning, they had enough time to leave. They chose to stay, and the tear gas did the job, and there was sanity there. And I'm happy that New Central is not reporting more violent confrontation.
Okay, some people might interpret that as the police sort of defending itself against the people as opposed to protecting the people that it has sworn to serve. I mean, I would like us to also maybe delve into how we got here in the first place, with the court giving the judgment as to where and where should be used for, or where, the protest, the approved points for the protest. So respond to those who see this as the police protecting itself from the people, as opposed to it being the force that protects the people. Then we can come and talk about, how we even got here in the first place.
Well, you're talking about the people you saw at Lekki Toll Gate, and we are looking at the larger picture. There are very many people, way more people, who feel protected by our actions, and they are thankful, and they commend us and encourage us to do more of that. So it's not about defending ourselves from the people. We are there to protect the larger society.
Do you mean this in response to Lagos? Are you talking about this as
I'm here
nation?
to speak about Lagos.
Okay, because unfortunately, what we've heard and the reports we are getting, the larger picture is Nigerians haven't necessarily expressed that they felt safe, especially in other parts of the country.
Well, in Lagos, people have been so grateful that they could go about their lawful businesses without harassment and intimidation.
Okay, we have our correspondent who will be joining us, Bernard Akede, who was live. Unfortunately, he and his team were the ones who were attacked. Good morning, Bernard. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, Osaroge, and good morning, Officer Benjamin.
All right. We believe that you've been following the conversation so far. How do you feel, Bernard? First of all, I know that it's been a bit of a mental turmoil for you going through all of this. How are you?
Well, I think I feel better. It's been a very interesting week, or eventful week, so to speak. If you remember, starting from the day before the protest, it's when it basically all started, and then all through up until yesterday, we were shaken up a bit. We were ruffled, and it's been a little bit traumatizing from yesterday. But look, it's like the police PRO said when we met yesterday. Said, look, these are hazards of the occupation, and I totally agree. It's just unfortunate that these things happen, and we're pushing. It's why we keep telling our story, so that these are kind of things will stop happening. But again, unfortunate hazards of the occupation.
Okay, I mean, tell us, a little bit more about the Ojota incident yesterday. Our guest here, Officer Benjamin Hundeyin, says that, it took place in barely about 5 seconds, so you didn't have time to reach out to the police, at least to beckon on the police to come to your assistance. Clarify on, was there police presence? Could they see what was going on? Was there, is it maybe true that it happened so fast and there was barely any time for the police to assist?
Yes, it did happen fast. However, I think I have my own narrative of what may have happened. Now, the police did instruct that we all leave that particular vicinity where we were, and so we marched forward to, what's it called now, Ojota bus stop under the pedestrian bridge, where we were going to take the live report. In marching forward, I say that because there were a few police officers who ensured that all the journalists moved away from there. At least 5 of them, made sure that we moved, and they were behind us. We started the live broadcast, and then we turned around, and they were not there anymore. So I think that's what surprised me. It did happen fast, but I honestly think that if they were still there, they would have done something about it. I also pointed out a certain person who I strongly believe is a police officer. He was in plain clothes anyway. He was the one who came to call me first of all. If we roll the tape back, during Business Edge around past 12 noon, while I was speaking to one of our anchors, Lekon, the gentleman called me to speak to the police boss who was there. And I still have him. I took a screenshot. I have him on my phone. And then while we were attacked, he was seated under the bridge right there. I have no facts to verify this, but I want to believe that he was aware of what was going on. And even if, he wasn't the one who rallied the crowd, at least as a police officer, whether on duty or off duty, whether in plain clothes or in uniform, he could have done something. I strongly believe he could have done something. Yes, it did happen quickly, but I don't think it happened too quickly for the officers who were there not to have been able to do anything about it. And I think that's my disappointment. In the past week, yes, truly, the police have been quite cooperative. I wouldn't deny that. The CP who had come around had always given assurance and reassurance. I wouldn't deny that. But, you know, in this particular, this was a step down from everything that the police have been doing throughout the period. If they have been doing a good job, I think this particular one just, you know, spoiled everything. Just put stain on whatever they were doing.
All right. Bernard, we'll have you still join us again, but I want to come back to our guest in the studio. Mr. Hundeyin, you've heard Bernard, and I'd like you to respond to him, but also to answer the questions that were being asked, you know, on social media. And one of the questions was, why is it so hard to clear these people, these seeming quote-unquote agberos, like we call them, off the streets in Lagos? You know, they constantly constitute a menace in one way or the other. So why is it so hard for us to get them off the streets? Okay,
thank you very much. I would like to quickly say something, permit me. During the protest, day 1, day 2, day 3, some of the protesters approached us and said, officers, please, you are too close to us. You are too close for comfort. It's like you are breathing down our neck. Can you just stay back a bit? Just move away from us. So that appeal, in responding, it's got across it went beyond just the protesters, even the press. Don't get too close to them. So I'm not making an excuse for not attending to Bernard in time of distress, but I'm saying that we give some distance for people to have comfort. Now, back to your question, why is it so difficult? It isn't that difficult. You see, justice is on a tripod. The police, then the court, then the prison. So for us, we've arrested...
All right, just hold on. Let's take a very short break and we'll come back and then have you finish your statements. Welcome back. We're still having this morning with the Police Public Relations Officer, Lagos State, Benjamin Hundeyin. Of course, you know, in establishing, x-raying some of the issues concerning the End Bad Governance protest in the last 6 days here in Lagos State. Hundeyin, you were speaking, responding to Bernard Akede, our reporter, and his perspective concerning what happened at Ojota yesterday. So just go on with that before we
And also to just add why it's difficult to clear the thugs from the streets of Lagos.
Yeah, so I said, let me say again, that some protesters approached us and said we're too close for comfort, that they would like us to just back off a bit so that we could protest comfortably. And we applied that to everyone, not just the protesters, even journalists. We didn't get too close so that they could do their things as comfortably as possible. That's not making an excuse for what happened to Bernard. I'm just saying that we had to give some space. So why is it so difficult to arrest or get these people off the streets? Justice stands on a tripod. The police would start and the court would take over and the prison would be the last stop. So for us, we have records of wanderers, miscreants, jobless people, thugs, that have been arrested and taken to court. And because basically you didn't find them with a weapon, you didn't catch them doing anything, it's just that they are jobless and they harass people. It might be difficult to get a very strong conviction. Yeah, so they might go to prison for 3 months and they're out again. And we go over the cycle again and again and again and again. So some of these thugs will tell you, oh, I've been to prison before, so what's the big deal? So we need government policy to actually solve these issues. Arresting and imprisoning and sending them to prison would not really solve the problem. So that's part of the issues we face.
I want to go back to a question that my colleague had asked earlier when he asked you the process of, you know, dealing with protesters, maybe in the case where you're trying to ensure that it doesn't get violent. And you talked about persuasion, and after persuasion, you talked about tear gas, which I believe is anti-riot material or anti-riot equipment. But at what point is it, first of all, is it legal to use live bullets during a protest? And at what point is it legal, if at all it is? So what is the order? You've talked about persuasion, tear gas. What's the next step? And does live bullets get into the picture at any point?
These things have to do with the force or the violence you're facing. It has to be commensurate. So police officers are empowered to use force, but the force must be commensurate with the danger they are facing. So yes, we have guns. They aren't for decoration. They have to be used not on animals but human beings when the time is right. So if the level of violence we are facing is that could take somebody's life, not just the police officer's life, even a human being's life. And there is no other way to stop that person from taking another person's life. Yes, we would use live bullets, but those are extreme cases, especially in a protest scenario. So in a protest scenario, it's very unlikely that you would use live bullets, because it's also unlikely that somebody is out there to take another person's life.
There have been accusations, though, of the police using live bullets on protesters.
Not in Lagos. I speak for Lagos.
All right, so you're not willing to speak for anywhere outside Lagos?
I don't have facts to talk about other states.
Okay. Is there any other, I mean, do you have rubber bullets? Do you have anything of that sort, before we get to live bullets?
Well, we do, but might not be in substantial quantity, but we do, yes.
So if you what would you say that the Lagos State Police needs now to better equip them to handle protests?
We need a lot of things, But let's start with maybe patrol vehicles, because we had to recoup equipment from different divisions to attend to this protest. So I would say we need more patrol vehicles so that each police division can have enough patrol vehicles. But that's not to say we don't have supply coming in very soon. The Lagos State Security Trust Fund will do that. But we need more patrol vehicles. Let's just start with that, so that we can easily respond to issues before they escalate.
Okay. I don't know if we have that clip now. I've requested that we have the clip from the Lekki toll gate, and I apologize for mapping on that particular incident. But I want us to clarify. Okay, please, producers, please let's know when we have that clip. I just want us to clarify. What I feel is that there needs to be a better approach towards these things, and what it seems like is that the Lagos State Police, and because we're focusing on Lagos, seems to have a seemingly provocative approach towards protesters. First of all, we see that show of force, days before, the protest. Then, maybe a couple of days before the protest also, we see police officers being paraded with tear gas canisters, looking like they are going to war in Gaza. But, I shouldn't have used Gaza, but the point is there seems to be a provocative approach towards protesters. It doesn't seem like the approach and the training, the teaching towards these officers is that these people have a right to protest, and you should be there to ensure that nothing goes out of hand.
Well, I don't know if the protesters expressed to you that they felt provoked, because we have been relating with them, and I don't see anywhere they said they felt provoked. We are there to protect them.
But if you move from persuasion, and I'm responding to what you said, if you move from persuasion and your next step is tear gas. And again, from what you said, it didn't seem like the police themselves felt overwhelmed or felt threatened. It also didn't seem like other road users felt threatened at that time. What you've said is that you don't want to get overwhelmed. And so your first approach, even if it is 7 people that are shouting, is tear gas.
Not first. You've
well, the second approach is tear gas. So doesn't that seem like there's already that train of provocation to immediately take harsh steps once you see people gathering?
We can go on and on with this. I'm not changing my opinion about this.
I'm not expecting that you will. I'm just going to get clarity on why that is the training.
And I hope I could also play my video, because we did a video where we're talking to Just Adetone. I don't know if you know Just Adetone.
Yes.
I have a video where we spoke for a long time. So I don't think you appreciate what 30 minutes mean in persuading people. I don't think you appreciate it. And don't forget, in this 30 minutes, more and more people are coming. Maybe not in large numbers, but one person joins, another person joins, and the number is swelling. We don't want to see people mounting the toll plaza. This happened last year when they were doing the NSAS anniversary.
2020. Okay,
not the NSAS itself. Yeah. The NSAS anniversary, people were mounting the toll plaza, and anarchy was about to set in. We would not allow that. So I say it again and again. We would not wait to be overwhelmed. 30 minutes is enough to persuade you to leave. You don't leave. We warn you that we're going to fire tear gas, and you have a whole 5 minutes to leave. You don't leave. It's your choice. The tear gas canister will be deployed. So if that same scenario presents itself again today, the same thing will be done.
Is that particularly about the Lekki toll gate?
It's about anywhere that anarchy is looming.
Okay, but what's the difference between Lekki Tollgate and Ojota? Because there were more people at Ojota.
They were where they were supposed to be. The court approved for them to be there.
All right.
So the challenge really for Lekki Tollgate is that there was no court approval for them to be there.
The court order stated it specifically that no protest should happen anywhere in the state except for Gani Fawehinmi Freedom Park and the Peace Park.
All right, we'll come back to you. Let's bring in Bernard again into the conversation. Bernard, talk to us about the relationship between Nigerian police and journalists. In your experience so far and what you've heard from other correspondents with the station, talk to us about what the current reality is and maybe how we can better that relationship. In terms of freedom of expression and allegations of, trying to stifle press freedom.
All right, this is something I spoke about yesterday. I'm not sure where. Okay, it was last night on the bulletin last night by 10 p.m. The relationship between journalists and police in Lagos, again, I'm speaking in Lagos because this is where I'm domiciled and it's where I reside and where I work more often than not. It's actually cordial, yeah, but here's where the problem lies. I think, the PRO has also spoken about it. There are bad eggs in every organization, and we see a lot of that in the police, unfortunately. Though there's some kind of reform trying to go on, which I can see is obvious, it probably is not as fast as we expect to happen, and it's not spreading as much as we would like it to happen. And here's why I'm saying this. So in my relationship with senior police officers, like the PRO himself, the CP, certain other police officers who I've come in contact with while carrying out my duties, and other journalists have been able to do that too, you'll see that there is mutual respect, there is proper communication, there's good use of language, there's very cordial relationship. But when it comes to the low-ranking officers, permit me to use that language, the constables, the sergeants, I think that's where we usually get the aggression. And I'll paint a very perfect scenario. So on the 31st of July, the day before the protest started, I was at Lekki Tollgate 6 p.m. doing another live report just like this, and we were accosted by a police officer. That video, unfortunately, also went viral. He asked if we had permission to work there, and I said, well, we are here to work. It's not the first time. He went to seek permission, came back with two gentlemen who asked what we were doing. We explained, and we were given 10 minutes to do our reportage. In less than 3 minutes, two other junior officers of the police force came, and without even asking questions, the video that went viral is what happened. We were disrupted from doing our work. Camera operator was pulled apart, and there was a lot of scuffle and back and forth. However, not long after that, I had to explain to them that, look, guys, you are live, and you don't want this kind of drama. Nobody's looking for unnecessary attention here. We don't want this drama. This thing that's going on is happening live. Then they decided to call their boss, who's a senior officer. She spoke to me on the phone, said, next time we should take permission. I said, madam, we did, and this is what happened. And she said, oh, are you sure? Is this the truth you're telling? I said, yes. I said, fine. So please finish up your reportage in 10 minutes, and you can go about your way. So again, you see, the senior officers, more often than not, are very enlightened, educated. They know what's happening. It's the junior ones that more often than not attack or prevent journalists from doing their job. So there has to be some kind of synchronization, some kind of harmony, some kind of information spread so that everybody's on the same page.
All right. Thank you very much, Bernard, for sharing that with us. You've heard him. How can we, your response to this, and how can we maybe communicate this from the top to the bottom, if I may use that?
Well, like he said, a few bad eggs. So doesn't translate to, it's a pandemic on the force, that every single officer, we've been together since day one, and if we want to tabulate the good experiences and the bad experiences, the good experiences far outweigh the bad experiences, but the bad experiences are being highlighted more. So it's something we work on. We do training and retraining. Before you get your next rank, you go for a promotion course. So these are things we work on, and I just hope that the good experiences too will be highlighted as much as the bad experiences have been highlighted.
Do journalists need to take permission from police officers before they do their work?
No, they do not.
Okay.
But if you're doing your work, you need to do it responsibly. You don't need to maybe.
What is irresponsible?
I was coming to that. You need to do it responsibly. You don't need to maybe stay in the middle of the road and cause obstruction or anything.
No, in this scenario,
I mean-
I think he was saying he was on the right side of the road.
I've answered the question. You don't need to take permission.
Okay.
But we've seen journalists that try to, grandstand and just become a nuisance. I'm not saying nuisance right now, but we've seen such. And maybe you want to, interview people, and you are so, brash about it. So once you're responsible, you don't need to be. But if you are irresponsible about it, then you will be called to order.
So where the rights of the journalists have, in this situation, for example, where the police have sort of refused to allow them do their job.
But he was eventually allowed to do his job.
Yes.
He said he spoke with a senior officer who asked him to go ahead.
But you said he didn't need to take permission.
Oh, definitely. And the senior officer there corrected it. That's why we have senior officers there. And when somebody is doing something wrong, you report to them and they'll correct it. And that happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just to highlight, he said that the senior officer asked if he had taken permission. So this sort of contradicts the position that you've shared with us.
It doesn't contradict it. It shows that the senior officer allowed him to do his job.
All right, just quickly, 30 seconds. I know they're chasing us out of here, but I want to ask also about the spread of tribalism and bigotry in Lagos. I'm sure you're familiar with the Lagos
on social
media.
media. On social media,
yes.
Social media is not real life.
Yeah, but it is.
It's not.
Sort of real life.
Okay.
Protests have started on social media and eventually got into real life. So, the Lagos PDA account, can you quickly share thoughts on that and, if any steps are being taken?
Yes, so I don't want to talk prematurely. I don't want to jeopardize what we're doing, but it's been looked into. We've been overwhelmed with complaints about it, and we've duly noted the complaints, and we're working about it. At the right time, we're going to give an update on it.
Okay, we hope to have you join us back when we have some updates in that regard.
I hope to be here again.
Thank you so much, Benjamin Hundeyin, for joining us.